Now we have a speaker that needs really no introduction. I've known him since his days in the State House, and he's served for some years now in the U.S. House of Representatives. He represents currently the 10th Congressional District here in Pennsylvania, sits on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committees and also Foreign Affairs. One of our favorites, Scott Perry.
All right, good morning, PLC. It's time to wake up, all right? You've heard some jokes, you've heard some dry stuff. Now we're going to grind it out a little bit, right? So I probably don't, but we have to set the stage, though, every time. You have to set the stage and just remind ourselves, first of all, that we live in a wonderful country by the grace of God, and we can thank the good Lord every single day. It's worthy of applause. It definitely is, right? And now we'll get into what's really happening, which you already know. The left is categorically destroying our country moment by moment, issue by issue, day by day. And a lot of people will come to you and will say, oh, this president's so incompetent. He's so inept. He's so lacking some faculty or whatever they're going to say. That all might be true. That all might be true. But I guarantee you what is true is that this is a concerted effort. This is not just somebody that's making mistakes and trying to find their way, although Secretary Gates said that Joe Biden had been on the wrong side of every consequential foreign policy decision in the past 40 years. And I don't know when anybody expected that to change. But that aside, when you look at the things that are being done, you can't help but know. And it's hard for us to believe this, right? Because we all love our country. We all know people on the left and the right, and we have different ideas, approaches about how to get to where we're going. And we can't imagine that someone would do things purposely to destroy our country. But when you nominate somebody like Tracy Stone Manning, right, to head a major federal agency, and she's an eco-terrorist. When you pick this Omarova lady to be the Comptroller General of the United States, who went to Moscow University on a Lenin scholarship, who wants to get rid of the private banking system in the United States of America, those aren't just mistakes like, I'm not sure this person looks good, let's pick them, right? Those aren't just mistakes. This is purposeful. This is willful. These are different times, and they require different actions. I will just tell you, so we have a Supreme Court nominee, right? And it's important as Republicans, as conservatives, as people that just love our country to know what we stand for and elect people to stand for those things. So, and I just think about the other side right now. As soon as a Republican's elected, you know, they put a whole machinery, a whole apparatus together, just in case there might be a Supreme Court nominee, just in case, and they're ready. They're looking through the list. And you know this as well. They're looking for any single reason to be critical, any single reason at all. And I hate to say this, but I think it's absolutely true. If they can't find a reason, they're going to fabricate one. But the point is that they're ready. They're ready. Now, our side, what did we do? Well, of course, we were dejected. Joe Biden's the president. We hoped no one was going to leave the court, but hope's not a plan. So we didn't have a plan, right? So now somebody decides to leave the court, and now we get the nominee. And of course, the expectation is from Republicans, from conservatives as well, of course, this is the president's nominee. We have to support the president's nominee. Has the left ever said that? Have they ever said that once? No, not in your lifetime, they haven't. And so we're unprepared, right? We're unprepared. They would have a war room, and they would make sure not just the members of the Senate, but every single Democrat that you know, every single person on the left would have the narrative, and they would be telling everybody they know that this person is awful, cannot sit in the court for whatever reason, was actual or fabricated. Our side, have you heard much of anything? Have you heard much of anything, right? We fully expect our United States senators on the Republican side, well, they'll probably vote for this. Why would we expect that? And why should they expect that we would expect that? But they do, right? I'm very frustrated. We have one senator that already announced, I'm going to vote for the nominee. The same senator who's a Republican could not be bothered to vote for our nominee the last time. Now look, I know that all states are different, and we need the majority, and so we respect that districts are different, states are different, and you just have to respect they're representing their folks. But for goodness sake, if you're going to be a Republican, there are just a few times where we absolutely need you to act like a conservative, or at least, and it's important to say it this way, or at least a Republican, and vote for the Republican. And when these are, like I said, these are different times. This nominee, I'm sure you know this, ladies and gentlemen, but just in case you don't, is sympathetic to some of the most horrific things you can imagine in this whole child pornography. It's not just child pornography, ladies and gentlemen. If you read the presentments, it is child sex torture. And time again, she finds as much as possible for the person that has committed these crimes. And this person wants to ascend to the highest court of the land, and there's nary a question, right? So I said to our leadership, I'm in the House, we don't get a vote, right? We have a dog in the fight because it's our country, but we don't get a say. So I said to the leadership, why don't we take a conference position and go out and tell the American people, since they're not hearing it, since we don't have a war room, since all the outside organizations aren't raising a fuss, why don't we take a conference position? Leadership says, well, we've never done that. I know we've never done that. And we've never had a nominee like this before. This is why we have to, ladies and gentlemen, the world has changed, right? I don't know whether you're noticing on the international stage, but blitzkrieg tactics of lightning warfare from a huge country to a little country don't seem to be working out real well right now, right? Times have changed. You've got to change the way you're doing things. And then Republicans often, look, we got a set of rules. We got standards of decorum, and we believe in them, right? You're supposed to wear your tie on the floor of the House of Representatives. You're not supposed to have no sleeves and wear a hat and all that stuff. Now, the Democrats, they always push the limits on the rules, and the Republicans say, well, here's what we say. The Democrats, we don't want to prevail upon you. We'll look mean if we say anything to you, but we'll maintain the standard, right? We can do that. We can require you to wear a tie on the floor, but and I talk to my Republican colleagues because they get bent out of shape about little things about decorum, right? But they don't seem to bother, they don't seem to care when we help the other side. 2/3 of the Republican Party, 75% of the Republican Party in the House helps the other side pass this huge omnibus bill that funds all these horrific Democrat leftist things. That's not a problem, but you better wear your tie on the floor. You better wear your tie on the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, these are different times, and it requires different kind of leadership, the different kind of thinking, right? We still want to maintain our standard. We're going to still stay on the high ground. We must. That's who we are. That's what we believe in, and our country deserves that. But we're going to have to do things a little differently, and so our leadership, we need leadership that gets it, that's willing to fight the way we need to fight. And what does that mean? That means calling out some things that need to be called out. That means doing some things that, look, if you're going to, yeah, right? If you're going to, some people are probably going to get uncomfortable. Okay, well, look, I don't want to make you uncomfortable, but every single day you make me uncomfortable when you try and impose CRT on my children. When the school that I'm paying for in the taxes that are imposed upon me under penalty of either taking all my property from me or sending me to jail, and I don't get a say in that? Oh, I'm sorry, right? The Department of Education was created in the 1970s, just like was created under Carter, just like the Energy Department. People often say, well, what would you cut, Perry? Well, I don't know. Department of Education. I got this book here. It's not really a book. It's like a little pamphlet, the Constitution of the United States. It doesn't say anything that the federal government, doesn't say anything about the federal government have anything to do with your children's education. That's our job. We can handle that, right? So forgive me for saying so. The Department of Energy, created for one reason and one reason only, to make the United States of America energy independent. Now, it's been around since the mid-'70s. President Carter started that. And it took until President number 45, it took him about 3 years. So all that time and all that bureaucracy and all those people took one guy 3 years to make us energy independent, and it took another guy, the next guy, about 2 months to destroy all that. We don't need these things, ladies and gentlemen, and some people are going to get offended. They're probably going to get offended. But if we're not going to get rid of the Department of Energy while CRT is running rampant through our school systems, if we're not even going to discuss it, look, I don't know where we're headed, but we're going to force the discussion. I'm just going to tell you that. We are going to force the discussion. I lament, and you probably do as well, most people, I think, in this day and age don't realize what our government, what this federal government is all about. They don't really know anymore. And I think about it in terms of, look, I'm in the House of Representatives, and in my time there, we've gone through a lot of different changes in the rules, which is essentially what our government's about, the rules that govern us, and we have the rules in the House. Most of the new members have no idea what it's like to make an amendment on the appropriations bill, where we spend the money. Because we changed the rules. Well, we didn't. Nancy Pelosi changed the rules, and we're not allowed amendments anymore. We used to have hundreds and hundreds of amendments on appropriations bills that would go late into the night so that your voices could be heard. And most members have never seen that. Now, we're gonna try and impose that back on the House when we come back into power, which I hope we will. We're gonna try and impose that, but it just makes me think that most people, look, it's been a couple hundred years, right? This thing exists. If you read through this, I think if you really critically think about it and you read through it, you will realize the federal government has just a few responsibilities, right? Provide for the common defense. Provide for the common defense. And then the rest is securing your rights and your liberties. Your rights and that's our job. And we have talked ourselves into believing that somehow it's the federal government's job to tell you what kind of car to drive, how far you can. It's coming, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just about plugging in. It's about controlling where you go, when you go, how you go, all of that. In the last transportation bill, they provided nothing for maintenance of your roads because they don't want you driving on them. And when I say they, it is the left. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to get back to this, and it's going to ruffle a few feathers. I'm just going to tell you that. It's going to ruffle a few feathers. And it's okay. It's okay. We need different leaders for different times, and we need people to challenge them. And I know you got a pile of candidates in here, and it's the blessing of riches, right? Because a lot of people see that the country's heading in the wrong direction, and they want to get in on the action of saving it. And I think that's a wonderful thing. But we got to pick candidates that, we all sound good. Look, I've been a candidate a lot of times, and every one of us needs to earn it, or should earn it every single day. We all sound pretty good. But you ever wonder how we all sound good when we're up here on the stage, when we're running, when we're asking you for your vote and your support, and then somehow when we get either to Harrisburg or we get to Washington, D.C., it doesn't work out. I couldn't do that. We couldn't do that. You've lived it, right? It's very frustrating to you. How do we pick? Look, it's not easy. I can't tell you. I have my own system. I want to know when I ask candidates, what does the federal government mean to you? And if they start about taking care of us and making sure, look, low taxes are good, all that stuff, secure my liberties. Secure my liberties. I'll figure out what's next. That's the person we want, right? We've got big choices in front of us, and we've got potentially leaders that are going to do those things, and it is going to be tough to figure out. But the other thing we got to be willing to do, quite honestly, this is our family, right? I don't know if everybody's a Republican in the room. I imagine everybody's a conservative, and I suspect even if you're not either one of those, that you just love your country. If we make a mistake in one of these elections, I don't care if it's dog catcher, I don't even know if we have dog catchers anymore, but let's say United States Senator, whatever. It's our job. This is our family. If we make a mistake, you can't stay forever. You got to go. You have to go, right? Every single day is an opportunity to show what you will do. And that's my frustration with our party. Because oftentimes we hear, look, I'm in the House of Representatives. We hear, that's the Senate's job. They're not fighting, so we don't have, that's not our job. Every single day is a day to show that what you will do. And people say, well, we don't want to have that vote. I don't know, I suspect in the state legislature, we don't want to have a vote on right to work. We don't want to have that vote. You know why? we're probably going to lose. All the Democrats are going to vote against it, and I'd say at least a third of the Republicans are going to vote against it. So we're going to lose. That's not the real issue. That's not the real issue. Then they're going to know who didn't vote with us, right? That's why we're not going to have the vote. Ladies and gentlemen, that cannot happen. And this is Act 77. Look, we get that a lot of representatives, that they knew it was a mistake after they did it or whatever, this whole voting thing, I was very frustrated. They don't want to have a repeal vote. We want to know. Step up and show us and earn it. Earn it every single day, whether you're in the state house or in the federal house or the state senate. Ladies and gentlemen, my time's expired here, but I want to let you know that the future is indeed bright. We're going to take back the House. And there are folks that are going to challenge leadership to do the right thing and earn it every single day. You see school boards that are changing, and you have great representatives here in this room. You've heard from some of them yet this morning. The world's in front of us, and we got to save our republic. We have to save our republic, but it means having some courage and being willing to offend some folks. And the media is not going to be kind to us. They're going to call you names. Just accept it. If you don't want the job, don't take the job. But if you want the job, it comes with the territory. And then just go wade into it and save your country, because that's what we're all supposed to be doing. It's not about running for governor, running for Senate, running for the next committee chairmanship or whatever. It's about saving the republic. And if you can't be bothered to be there for that, go take a look at some other job. God bless you. Thank you.